So you've likely seen the chatter lately, around April 29th, this renewed buzz about Canada possibly becoming the 51st U.S. state.
Oh, yeah, it's been bubbling up again. Lots of talk about, potential economic benefits, maybe even military advantages.
Right, things like trade, investment.
But what's really striking is the Canadian reaction. Almost immediate.
You mean Pierre Poilievre?
Yeah, exactly. His post on X, "We will never be the 51st state." That really cuts to the heart of it, doesn't it? National identity, sovereignty.
It absolutely does. And it
Yeah.
actually made me think of Barack Obama's book recommendation, Erika F. James's novel, The Border.
Ah, interesting connection, even though that's U.S.-Mexico. Geographically different.
Totally different context, sure. But for our deep dive today, we thought we could use the themes from that book, the human side of borders and identity, to look at this Canada discussion, especially with everything going on geopolitically in 2025. Obama clearly saw something valuable there.
Well, yeah. The Border, even as fiction, it digs into that deep emotional impact, what these national divisions actually do to people, to communities.
It's more than lines on a map.
Exactly. It's belonging, it's culture. And like the book shows with divided communities, this whole hypothetical Canada situation, well, it makes you think about the potential disruption to actual lives and identities.
Right, and that feels so relevant right now in 2025 because, look, some people might see this idea of like a no-border scenario with Canada
As some might interpret certain views.
as maybe economically smart, but it really seems to challenge the core of what it means to be Canadian for many people. Poilievre's statement is a huge signal of that.
And you see that feeling online, too, this desire to stay independent. There was that hypothetical stat floating around, something like 60% of Canadians on Threads may be opposing annexation, valuing independence over integration.
It really highlights that classic tension, doesn't it? Weighing the tangible, like economic benefits against things that are harder to quantify.
Definitely. I mean, Canada's faced billions in U.S. tariffs recently.
Sure.
And some folks on X are quick to point out the upside of becoming a state. Zero tariffs, completely seamless trade.
But that's where the themes from the border kind of echo, right? That subtle warning about what gets lost.
Cultural autonomy, maybe.
Yeah.
National decision-making.
Right.
What about, say, losing independent regulatory bodies? Could there be economic downsides there, too?
That's a really good question, the less obvious ripple effects. And then there are the political angles whispered about, too.
Like what?
Like maybe some Republicans in the U.S. being a bit hesitant about potentially adding a large block of voters with, well, maybe different political leanings.
Ah, okay. The electoral map consideration. That's always a factor.
And it's interesting to contrast all this with Obama's past approach to Canada, diplomatically speaking.
Oh, so?
Well, his highlighting of the border, focusing on that human element, it feels quite different from some of the more, let's say, assertive talk we hear now in 2025.
It's quite a contrast. And you see things like the hashtag Elbows Up Canada movement gaining traction online, too.
Yeah. It underlines that pushback, that desire to maintain a distinct Canadian identity. Obama's approach seemed more rooted in respecting national sovereignty.
Which feels pretty important right now.
Absolutely. And this whole conversation, it just plugs into those bigger societal debates we keep touching on, that constant push and pull between national identity, keeping your culture distinct, versus the pressures of global economics.
It's a dynamic playing out everywhere, really.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it leaves us, and maybe you listening, with a pretty big question to chew on.
Okay.
In a world that's just getting more and more interconnected economically, what actually defines national identity anymore? And I guess, at what point might potential economic gains start to outweigh the value people place on their cultural independence and self-determination?
It's a fundamental question, no easy answers there.